one is driven to right field. There it goes. See ya. A pinch hit. 3-run home run for Jorge Posada.
What is going on, everyone? This is the Baseball Banter Broadcast's new weekly live stream show. Welcome to the Pinstripe Plunge Report, your Wednesday night home for all things New York Yankees and the biggest stories from around Major League Baseball. This is where the baseball talk actually goes deep and where your midweek becomes must-watch.
And we're not just rehashing box scores. We're breaking down the latest news, notes, and thoughts, theories, and opinions from the Bronx to the rest of the league. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jeremy. And every week we're plunging in head first with brash takes, unofficial insight, breaking down bold moves and league-wide drama and headlines from 161st Street and River Ave to every corner of Major League Baseball.
Whether you bleed pinstripes or just love a good baseball debate, you're in the right place.
And don't forget, we have our mailbag section coming up later in the show, so drop your questions in the chat, comment, or DM us, whether it's for Bronx banter, trade speculation, power rankings, hot takes, or anything else. We want to hear it all from you.
This is the Pinstripe Plunge Report.
Exclusively here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast.
But first, before we get too deep in the weeds with this, do us a favor. Go check out our link tree, linktr.ee/baseball banter broadcast. You'll find our affiliate sponsor links, our audio platforms, and all of our social media platforms. Get us there.
All right. So we're going to jump in to the leadoff spot. So as we begin at the leadoff spot here today, we're going to kind of close up a story that was really big last week, and it is that of the torpedo bats. So, Dave, I know you had some thoughts on that, so let's kind of close out the discussion here.
For everybody that is listening, say it with me in one big loud voice. These bats are not illegal, okay? They've been around for a very long time. Just there was a lawsuit that was filed between Rawlings and Louisville Slugger and Major League Baseball over whether or not they could use them. These bats have been around forever. This is not something new. There was a lawsuit that happened. Louisville won out, and now these bats are in circulation. And guess what, guys? The Yankees aren't the only ones doing it, okay? Up here on the screen is a list of players from around the league that are using it. Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles, Alec Boehm of the Phillies, Ellie De La Cruz, Jose Trevino of the Reds, O'Neal Cruz of the Pirates, Junior Caminero, Yandy Diaz of the Rays, Manny Machado, like he freaking needs a torpedo bat. Kike Hernandez probably does. Max Muncy doesn't of the Dodgers. Rhys Hoskins of the Brewers, maybe. Ryan Jeffers, most definitely for the Twins. But because it's the fucking Yankees, excuse my French, it's a big deal when you got Volpe, Wells, Bellinger, Jazz, and Goldschmidt using it, okay? Don't be mad at us because our nerds finally did something with analytics that makes sense. Imagine that. Imagine the Yankees analytic department did something smart for once. Holy shit. Who could have seen that coming? But I'm sick and tired of hearing it. I'm sick and tired of – I was getting text messages back home in Rhode Island from my cousins that are Red Sox fans. Oh, you guys can't win fair and square. Now you got to cheat too? I'm like, dude, do you read news articles? Do you actually, research this? This is not something new. Everyone's going to do something to try to get an edge. It was approved by the commissioner of the league. That's what's got me going bananas over this. It was approved by the guy that runs the league.
Yes, it was.
And yet you still got people out there screaming that this is illegal. This is cheating. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so was Babe Ruth snapping a branch off an oak tree somewhere and using it, cheating too? Back in the 20s?
If he was on the Yankees, then definitely.
Oh, this is the last breath I'm wasting on this. Torpedo bats are not going anywhere. Get used to it. It's staying. Shut up.
So I'll add one last piece. One of the guys that you skipped over on that list was Francisco Lindor. And
I'm sorry. Like, he needs one too.
He was using it during last year's postseason. So for everybody that was talking about the Yankees getting advantage, Lindor started to do well once he started to have that torpedo bat. So
weird.
Yeah. So, and that wasn't Dave's only rant for today. So make sure you keep it locked in here. Make sure you keep it locked in here as we will get to that momentarily. So now we're going to get to the meat of the order, and we call this section the Bronx Beatdown.
See ya. See ya. That one's driven deep to left field. There it goes. See ya. Back on the track at the wall. They've done it again. Track, wall, see ya. The bat worked. High fly ball. See ya. A grand slam for Aaron Judge. They keep on doing it. See ya. High fly ball at the wall. See ya. 3 home runs for Aaron Judge. See ya. The Yankees' 9th home run of the day. They did it again.
So yeah, so the meat of today's order and kind of the biggest portion of our contest on our show here is going to be about the Yankees and some of the alarming trends that have happened. I made reference to this in one of our post-game recaps, and the fact is that the Yankees have, for a long time, obviously they're known as the Bronx Bombers, but they have become a team where if they're not hitting home runs, they're not winning games. So in this section, we're going to go over that, and we're also going to go over the need for pitching. So when we look at this team, it has become an alarming trend that when they don't hit home runs, they don't win. So this year, Yankees find themselves at a 6-5 record, second in the division. And in the wins that the Yankees have had, in those 6 wins, they won 4-2, 20-9, 12-3, 9-4, 10-4, and 4-3. All have come with at least 1 home run. In the 5 games that the Yankees have lost, they have lost all without hitting a home run. The Yankees have 1 loss on their season in which they still hit a home run. So, Dave, I want to know your thoughts on where do you think this lineup, this roster can improve with this particular situation?
Well, let's not go jumping off the George Washington Bridge or the Empire State Building or whatever structure of choice that you would want to leap from in New York or the surrounding areas. It's game 11. Okay. Unfortunately, we dropped 2 of 3 or 3 of 4 to I forget how many freaking games we played against the Tigers. I think it was just 3. All right, so we're going into game 12. All right, we're at 7-5. Let's not start hitting the panic button just yet. It's April. Okay. I would be more worried about this if this was happening in like June, July, when Hal doesn't understand why the fans are mad at him. That's usually when this would happen. So I'm not worried about it. Guys are still trying to figure stuff out from spring training. Still trying to get, a feel for things. And, you're playing in basically sub-zero temperatures in Detroit, Michigan. So I'm not concerned about it. Now, if this continues, yeah, okay. Time to start sounding the alarm. I would like to see more contact and more just base hits rather than just trying to put it out of the damn ballpark. But when you got a lineup that's got Judge, J-Dom, Bellinger, Ben Rice, who seems to have turned into Barry Bonds overnight somehow, and I'm loving the shit out of it. Austin, you got 6 out of 9 in the lineup that are power hitters. What are they going to try and do? They're going to try and match home runs because that's what they get paid to do, right? Today you saw, us hitting with guys on base late in the game, but at least it happened. I'm still a believer that RBIs and batting average matter. Some people will tell me to go fly a kite and say that OBP and walks matter more. I disagree because last time I checked, if you can't put bat on ball, like you don't win games. That's usually how this whole thing works. So, yeah, I'm not worried about it just yet. I mean, yeah, it sucks. I mean, you don't want to lose, 2 out of 3 to Detroit, who's actually pretty damn good this year. They're a pretty scrappy team.
They're going to be good.
So they're going to get the Central run for that money for sure. But yeah, I'm not really concerned about it just yet.
So I think for me, we've seen this now for a few years with this team where it is that all or nothing approach. But I think what's the more alarming trend, and I have some numbers here, the Yankees facing off against, higher caliber pitchers, right? Your top guys, Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Casey Mize, who pitched really well against them.
Yeah.
Tarek Skubal and Jack Flaherty, right? So in the 3 series that they most recently played, 2 of the 3 series they most recently played. So the 3 starters against the Diamondbacks and the 3 starters against the Tigers, right? A combined 32.1 innings. So basically 3.5 games. The Yankees scored 5 runs, got only 10 walks, and struck out a combined 50 times. So it's basically 1.43 runs per game, 2.86 walks per game, and an absolutely ridiculous and crazy 14 strikeouts a game is what they're averaging against those 6 starters. So to me, that's the more alarming trend rather than so much the chasing of the home run ball. And it goes back to what you said, being able to make contact, to put the bat on the ball and not necessarily go chasing after that home run, but go after, a better approach at the plate. Just try to put the ball in play. Because we've seen, especially in that game today, you mentioned it earlier, the Tigers started throwing the ball around. That's how the Yankees got their 34th run in this game. And those ended up being super important.
Well, Ben Rice's 2-run home run is what got it started in the 6th. So.
Right. But, the Yankees don't get those tack-on runs without the Tigers throwing the ball around in that 7th or 8th inning. I forget what it was. But
7th.
Yeah. So, that goes back to your point of being able to put the ball in play, being able to, manufacture some runs. That, to me, is going to be what I'm paying attention to going into the rest of this season. If they can manage that part of it, I think that's going to be a big factor and a big key to their success. Now,
I hear what you're saying, but you go back to that list of names that they faced. They're not bums. I mean, they're the top pitchers in the league. And good on Casey Mize. I mean, give that dude some credit. He's been hurt a lot, and he's a former first-round draft pick. So it's nice to see him bounce back rather than not be it against us. But be that as it may, I mean, Peralta, Skubal, Burns, Gallen, they got nasty stuff. And if you're swinging at it and missing, it's because it's zigzagging or dipping, diving, doing weird stuff, bending physics. I mean, these guys Corbin Burns just got over 200 mil from the Diamondbacks. It's not like they're out there facing, Rich Garces or John Burkett from way back when. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to happen. You're not always going to beat good pitchers. I mean, if they were doing this against like someone's number 4 or number 5 starters, yeah, okay, now we're getting worried. But good pitching beats good hitting almost all the time. So
yeah,
it's gonna happen. Like I said, it's early. And that game that Peralta pitched, he didn't really pitch that great because they kept taking him deep. He was out of the game by the 5th inning.
Yeah.
So it's not like he went and dominated the Yankees, because that was the first. I think it was the home opener where they just completely just demolished. It was like 6-0 by the 2nd inning. So it goes both ways, man. You're not always like, the fact that they only struck out 50 times is remarkable throughout that stretch, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, again, we have to kind of look at it as, and the question, leading into this obviously is it a small sample size, or is it something to be concerned about? And obviously it's still April. It's still super early in the season, but these are kind of the things that I'm paying attention to as we head in. Now, the more alarming thing and kind of the title of this first episode here on the Pinstripe Plunge Report is a rotation in ruins, right? So the Yankees going into this year, we're going to have one of the most spectacular rotations in baseball. and then injury set in, and the Yankees now find themselves with a guy who was likely on his way out as their number 3 starter. So when we look to those starters, right, and I have some numbers here. Carlos Rodon has pitched in 3 games for the Yankees. 17 in the 3rd innings. He's got a 1-2 record, an ERA of 5.19 with 20 strikeouts and 9 walks, and an ERA plus of 83. So now, for those that may not understand the advanced statistics, ERA plus on average, when you think about an average major league pitcher, is graded out at 100. Rodon is at an 83 right now. So he's pitching at a below league average effort. When you look at
pitched in 3 games, bro.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to skip that part of it, it's one of those things where we've seen Rodon be inconsistent throughout the course of an entire season. This isn't the first time we've seen him kind of go through some of these struggles. So, being able to point out what he's doing at the moment is going to be where this show is going to rely upon. Marcus Stroman, 2 games, 8 2/3 innings pitched, a 7.27 ERA. Will Warren, 9 innings pitched in 2 games, a 6 ERA. Carlos Carrasco's pitched in 3 games, 2 of them as a starter, 7.71 ERA.
You know what stat you're missing? How many earned runs they gave up.
Yeah.
Because that formula, dude, you give up 3 runs in a game where you haven't pitched that many innings, yeah, your ERA is going to be like a 31 because of the way the formula calculates it.
So for Warren, he's given up 6 earned runs. Marcus Stroman has given up 7, and Carrasco and Rodon have each given up 10.
Fuck.
So, I mean, that's a lot. Now, when you compare that to the guy who is now our number 1 in Max Fried, his numbers look starkly different. An ERA of 1.56 with 21 strikeouts in 17 innings of work. He's given up across his 3 starts 3 runs, 3 earned runs. So
he's got ice water running through his veins. I watched him pitch today. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, nothing phases him at all. Nothing. No. Not a damn thing.
Not the cold, not anything else. So yeah, no, it was wonderful to see. And I had texted you earlier, thinking about what this rotation could have looked like if we didn't have the injuries that knocked out, Garrett Cole and knocked back Clark Schmidt and Luis Heel. So this could have been one of the most special rotations in baseball, but
it would have been lethal. Guess we'll just have to wait till next year to see it fully out there. Well, I mean, at least 4/5 of it, because Cole might not be back until August.
Yeah. So it leads me then to my next question for you. Should the Yankees start looking for pitching help?
I mean, they should have started looking the minute Garrett Cole blew his elbow out. Yeah. I mean, like I don't really put much stock into April statistics because history has shown, right? And you and I have been Yankees fans since the day we were in diapers, pretty much. Any time that they have started out hot in April, it usually does not end very well come the end of the year. I mean, look at the 2000 Yankees. They were barely above 500 going into August. So if that's any indication of like doing shit hot at the beginning of the year and then burning out towards the end and somehow getting the juice to get back into it, granted, trading for Canseco and Justice definitely helped the situation that year. But I'd rather see them play like crap now where it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, you can still lose the division in April, but with the firepower that this team has, with the reinforcements that are coming back, I'd rather they get it out of their system now than be doing this in August when it matters. So that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, you don't want to see your ace in Rodon giving up 10 runs, but that's who he is. He gives up home runs, usually with guys on base, and they go very far. The fact that he was been donned the ace when the other kid behind him's getting paid $218 million for the next 8 seasons. I don't know. You could have jumbled the rotation in spring training when when Cole blew his elbow out.
I mean, they had Fried lined up, which is why they didn't want to mess that up.
But they definitely need to rethink that. But I'm not worried. Like I said, this was happening in July. Yeah, it's on the alarm. Pitching help. It just depends with the way the new playoffs are structured and how many teams going into this year put them in position to be wild card contenders. I really don't think you're going to find much pitching help out there, to be honest. I mean, you still got some guys hanging around the scrap heap like Kyle Gibson, those types of pitchers. Like, there's pitching help out there, but whether or not it's adequate enough to patch holes, if you will, I don't believe there is. I would say you could solve it internally somehow, do it, but with Chase Hampton on the shelf and Ben Hess being so far away, I don't know.
So I don't know. There's a couple of names that I have on the list, but obviously, we're going to get into it momentarily when we look at the roster, but we have a couple of guys that are coming back, right? So realistically, you're looking to kind of upgrade that 4th and 5th starter, where we have Carrasco and Will Warren right now, right? So those are the guys that you're expecting to upgrade. If we can upgrade and push Stroman down a couple of spots to that 5th starter role, or even bump him out of the rotation, that might be a help as well. But I think when you look at this team, realistically, you're looking to get 2 starters back. And we have that coming back in Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil. At least as of this recording, things are promising on that regard. So it will be interesting. Now, I do have some names that I want to run by you and kind of get your thoughts on them for a potential trade target for the Yankees. So the first name I have is Luis Castillo from the Seattle Mariners.
You can try. I don't think Seattle's going to give him up. I think Seattle's pretty much going to keep Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Luis Castillo as do not touch.
Yeah.
Especially with the West being now winnable, considering the Astros have been basically gutted.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I don't see it happening.
I think the Rangers are the top of that division. I think that they're going to be
maybe, but we've also seen them shit the bed. Look at last season.
Yeah.
They were the favorites to go back to the World Series, and they completely imploded.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, injuries were a big
part due to injury, of course, but,
Yeah. Well, and that's the part of why I bring up Castillo from the Mariners, because the Mariners, we know, have been searching for offense, and they've been able to acquire none of it. So if they find themselves in a position where they are in need of some offensive firepower, right? Castillo is the guy they could move, because that's the only guy in that rotation that's actually making money at this point. So that, to me, is a guy who could be acquired because of the financial component for a team that we know, especially this offseason, was kind of, doing some weird things when it came to the financials of it all. So that, to me, is kind of the interesting aspect of a potential acquisition of Castillo.
So with Castillo, the issue is this, okay? He's getting paid $21.6 million a year. I'm sorry, that's the luxury tax hit. So if we get him, it's a luxury tax hit of $21.6 million. He's getting paid $24.15. He's getting paid that until 2027 when he's 34. He has a vesting option. Oh, and he has a full no trade clause from 2023 to 2025.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just a potential target that I thought about in Castillo. I think that, he's a guy that we've seen step up on the big stage. Every time he pitches against the Yankees, he's lights out. So for me, it's a guy that I think the Yankees could potentially make a move with some of that depth that they have in terms of the offensive side of things in the minors, and be able to, kind of supplement this rotation. And it being a guy that you can have for the next coming couple of seasons, I think is a guy that the Yankees could really look forward to.
I think that's the least likely scenario to happen, but
Okay.
we'll see.
So the next guy then, do you think is more likely is Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins?
I'd like to say yes, just because the Marlins have no idea which way is up, down, left, right, whatever. And we so VREG 1121 thinks we should just straight up trade Dominguez for Castillo. Yeah, because I'm sure the Mariners were. So let me explain something. Luis Castillo is going to command J-Dom, Brock Selvage, Roderick Arias, George Lombard, and possibly Peraza and Cabrera. Like, that's where it's going to start. We'll put it that way.
I feel like that's a lot to ask for Castillo at this age.
It's the Yankees tax, bro. Look at everywhere we've tried to improve. Yeah. Look at how bad the Reds tried to fleece us for Castillo 2-3 years ago, whatever the hell it was, and then turn around and say that Anthony Volpe is not a viable shortstop. I'm sorry, a Gold Glove and a few other things later. Beg to differ, but whatever. Yeah. So and getting Castillo is going to start with J-Dom and Spencer Jones.
Yeah.
At the top of the list, without a doubt.
Yeah, I do think that would be the kind of starting line for that. But I mean, would you do that trade?
Hell no.
Dominguez for Castillo?
No, I still think I'm not ready to give up on Jason Dominguez just yet. I don't think he's really showing his full potential. We'll get to this later. I don't want to ruin it because I got a whole just something that's just grinding gears with. I'm just going to shut up. Okay, so moving on.
We're just going to jump into it.
We're going to shelf that. We're going to shelf it. Keep going. Just go. Kantara. Right. So, yeah, I think the Yankees could get it done. The Yankees and Marlins trade history has been decent over the years. It's just a matter of what they're going to ask for in return.
Right.
Because they were all cool with taking Glaber and Peraza for Pablo Lopez. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, you got to take Aaron Hicks too. And they're like, nah, peace. We good. And that was the end of that. So I wouldn't mind getting Alcantara. It's just a matter of what his health is like. Yeah. Considering he's coming off Tommy John surgery, but I feel like everybody in the league is coming off of Tommy John surgery. I'd roll the dice on Kantara. Dude, do you have that top three? Holy shit.
Looking at his numbers for this year, 2 games started, according to baseballreference.com, 3.72 ERA, 9 innings pitched. He's given up 4 runs, 4 walks, and has 11 strikeouts with 38 batters faced. So, I mean, if we can see him get back to some semblance of that Cy Young caliber form, that would be a huge.
How old is he now? 32?
29.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get him until the trade deadline.
Yeah, no, I don't think really any of these guys are going to be available till June at the earliest. And
maybe they'll take Stroman. We'll throw him in as an extra. Hey, take DJ LeMahieu and Marcus Stroman. There you go.
Yeah. If anybody takes that deal, they need to be fired immediately.
Bro, they took Starlin Castro and David Phelps.
All right, but
here's Giancarlo Stanton.
Here's the deal. That was different. That was a straight up salary dump. That's not even the same context.
Just saying. Easier things have happened. Just throwing it out there.
That was a straight salary dump. We're not fleecing anybody like that again.
I mean, the last time I really saw us fleece anybody was when we stole Chuck Knobloch from the Twins for Eric Milton, Christian Guzman, and Brian Buchanan, and some other minor leaguer that I had never heard of before. Only 2 guys out of that trade made it to the major leagues and played for 10 years plus. So there's that.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a fleece. All right. So we're going to get into it. This is one of the fun sections for this. We call it the short porch. It's Dave's rant.
Is lifted toward right field. Charlie Culberson takes a peek, and it's in the first row. A pop fly home run for Aaron Judge.
So one thing that has just been grinding my gears, right? to quote Family Guy, Fox, don't sue us, please, is playing Jason Dominguez in left field from the first to the seventh inning. And then for whatever reason, we get this good idea theory that likes to fly around in the seventh inning and smack Boone in the head and decide, you know what? It's a great idea. Why don't we put Bellinger in left and put Trent Grisham in center for the final 3 innings of the game? I'm sorry. If Cody Bellinger is good enough to play left field for the last 3 innings of the game, then stick his ass in left field and move Jason Dominguez back to center field. I don't understand what has to happen to prove to this organization that this experiment just is not working. This kid cannot play left field for whatever reason. He's a center fielder. Put him back in center field. And can we please stop playing people out of position? Can we just stop? This has been going on for way too damn long. Granted, you've gotten lucky with, LeMahieu being able to play second, first, and third. You've gotten lucky with Oswaldo Cabrera pretty much doing everything but catching and pitching at this point. Coming into the year, you keep saying that you had a hole at second base. No, you don't. Jazz Chisholm is your second baseman. This is why you brought him here. You did not bring Jazz Chisholm here to play third base. He played third base last year because you had a spoiled little crybaby at second that said, I'm a second baseman. Now he plays for the Detroit Tigers.
And now he's not playing at all because he's hurt.
Yeah, that too. So, I'm just sick of it, man. Like, this kid's his confidence probably jacked. He's definitely bringing this shit into the batter's box. So there's enough. You're creating a liability. Just stop. There's no reason for it. There is absolutely no reason to create a defensive liability and then kill this young kid's confidence in the batter's box. I'm trying not to curse, but you're going to jack him up just like you did with Gary Sanchez. Yep. This is the same exact damn thing that happened with Gary Sanchez when they started messing with the way he caught the ball. Just let the kid play center field and just be done with this. Cody Bellinger has been in the league for damn near 10 years. He's a veteran. He played first and all 3 outfield positions. Why? Like, I'm done with this. This obviously is not going to work. It's just not. And it's time for it to end.
So, yeah.
And I'm done.
I definitely agree. I think that it's
aggravating to watch.
It's something that you can clearly see is weighing on Dominguez. This was a guy who was super highly touted as, switch hitting center field prospect with great power, great plate discipline, and we're not really seeing that. And I think that it does come from that. You mentioned Gary. That was huge. This was a guy that came up and basically in almost just 2 months of play took the rookie of the year. And so this organization, as you said, tends to kind of make their own problems. And to me, playing Dominguez in left when clearly he was much more comfortable in center when they first brought him up, he was playing center field for them. And, he was doing a relatively good job. And I think that they could have let that continue and really found themselves in a position where they could have had a center fielder for the next 10 years. I think back to the fact that, Bernie Williams was a guy who wasn't thought of to be a whole lot. And he turned out to be one of the greatest hitters in baseball, one of the greatest postseason hitters in the game. And this was a guy that was kind of looked over and passed over. And I think that, not to say that Dominguez could have been the next Bernie Williams, but at the same point, you don't know what you have unless you let them play. And, I think back to when Volpe started, right? There was a lot of conversation, a lot of hate going towards Volpe because he wasn't playing the way Derek Jeter played. But
he got rushed. He was rushed.
Yep.
He had 3 games at AAA.
Yeah.
Granted, he figured it out, but
for sure. But you also think back, I think people forget about the fact that Jeter had so many errors at shortstop when he first started in pro ball, and he got better with time. And I think that, on our State of the Franchise episode for the Yankees, I made a bold claim about Volpe being a 2020 guy, and you looked at me like I was crazy. But early on, we've seen a positive outcome from Volpe. seeing what he started to do and the change that he started to make last year during the playoffs and the World Series, that's carried over. And obviously, there's going to be highs and lows with him. There's going to be some times where he swings at things that are 8 feet outside the box. But at the same point, we also see a different approach from him. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be capable of this season.
And the other thing with Volpe, you didn't see them pulling him in the 7th inning. Like, why? He's not going to get better if you keep pulling his ass out of the game. Like, and then you lose the offensive ability that he has. Granted, don't get me wrong, Trent Grisham is swinging a really hot stick right now, and you're trying to keep that fresh. I get it, but he's also your 4th outfielder that you paid $5 million for.
Yep.
Let J-Dom play. He's not going to get – you want him to get better. Let him play through it. That's the only way it's going to happen. I mean, and then seeing the ball that I think it was Kerry Carpenter hit in the left field, banged off the wall, went by him, tried to pick it up with a glove, and he ended up throwing it behind him. Like, his brain is – his head's obviously not in the game in left field. So do the right thing and just move him back over to where he's comfortable.
Yeah.
And this is – the Yankees aren't the only team doing it. Like, during the game, when I was watching the game today, the Tigers – have taken Javi Baez, who came up as a second baseman and a shortstop and stuck his ass in center field. Never played center field at a professional level at all, to my knowledge. Yeah. And then just sticking him out there in left field. Same thing with the Astros with Altuve, sticking him in the outfield. Like,
yeah,
what? Because they're professional athletes? Like, you just plug and play? That's not how it works, man. That's like telling Derek Jeter to go play right field or center or third base or first or, hell, get on the mound and pitch. It doesn't work. Well, analytics says, I don't care. Analytics, just because a computer tells you what's up, doesn't necessarily give you the ability to gauge the human element, which is fallibility. We're not perfect. We're not robots. Yep. There is a human element to this that analytics cannot show you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. J-Dom in left is stop, please. What are you doing?
Trying to start the next segment.
Oh.
Swung on it. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. It's a Judgian blast.
Now the pitch is swung on, a high fly to deep right center. It's gone! Derek Jeter hit one over the Modell sign in right center.
So as we look towards this next section here, we call it the Captain's Corner. We take a look at what Aaron Judge is doing at the moment. And as of today, Aaron Judge has a slash line of 354, 446, 792. So batting average, on base percentage, and slugging. He is tied for first place with 6 home runs and leading the league with 20 RBIs. So the one question I have for you, Dave, is Judge already in MVP form? Seems like an obvious question.
I mean, duh. Is anyone really surprised about what this man does anymore? Because I'm not. I'm just loving that we get to see it for the next 7 years or whatever is left on his massive contract, and he's not playing for the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
So
the other day on the broadcast, they brought up the fact that in Judge's first 1,000 games, he tied Babe Ruth with 321 home runs for his career.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to mention a player that we're watching now in the same breath as one of the legends of the game. And, it's just kind of astounding to me how that can be what we see from someone that we're watching on this team right now. You think about, you look at certain players and they're Hall of Famers. When you watched, Ken Griffey Jr., when you watched Albert Pujols, you knew those guys are Hall of Famers. And, I see that in Aaron Judge. So when we look at where Aaron currently sits in Major League Baseball history. He's currently sitting with those 321 home runs at 131st all time, tied with Ron Gant. This is a guy that absolutely.
I didn't think Gant was that much of a home run hitter. Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising, right?
Yeah, you didn't really think of him as a real power hitter, but I guess
Yep.
We were kids back when he played, so it's probably why I don't really remember it.
Yep. Yeah. So Judge is a couple behind Carlos Santana for the next active player on the list at 325. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out for the year.
You know who they're not saying this about is that other guy that plays in Queens. Weird. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised by this at all. So I realized Aaron Judge was special when I saw him play in the minor leagues. So I don't think I've ever told this story on here before, but I grew up in Rhode Island. So I used to go. So McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket was the home of the Paw Sox, the Red Sox AAA affiliate that has now since moved to Worcester. They're now the Worcester Red Sox. So growing up, I saw Jeter, Pettit, Mariano, Wade Boggs, Cal Ripken Jr., Mo Vaughn, all these legends play in this minor league stadium that stood for 103 years. It was actually the oldest minor league ballpark in the country. And that it just got recently just torn down. It was heartbreaking to see. But I went to a game in June of 2016. Met my wife there. We grabbed last minute tickets. I was on my way home from work. And so I saw him in spring training and saw just this massive human being. I mean, he's the size of Rob Gronkowski. That's like seeing it in person was like, damn, okay, cool. And then saw him in the minor leagues that June. His first at bat of the game, he hits the ball out of the stadium, right? Now, to dead center field at McCoy Stadium was 400 feet. This thing had a launch angle on it that sent it out of the completely out of the stadium, hit the freight docks of the loading docks of the freight company across the street. And all you heard was "gadong" off the dock door, and it was like it was a 3-run home run. And we were like, I was like, holy mother of God, what is he still doing here? Now, Tyler Austin played in that game, Gary Sanchez played in that game, and Luis Severino actually started the game. It was actually Nick Swisher was on the bench because they had just signed him to a minor league contract. So, and Pete Cosmo was actually the starting shortstop that game too. That's even funnier. So yeah, it's just taking it back quite a ways. But yeah, like it was a 3-run. This thing had to have gone at least 345 feet with a 45-degree launch angle that just went out of the. 2 weeks later, Tyler Austin, Gary Sanchez, and Aaron Judge were all called to the major leagues after that game. So I got to see it up close and personal for $8 friggin'.
Yeah.
Box seats were $8 above the Scranton Wilkes-Barre dugout. So I'm not surprised by this. I got to see it in its earliest days, and it's just been a joy to watch. So,
yeah. So before we end this particular segment, one of the other things that I like to do in this section is look back at some at-bats from some previous Yankee captains. So on this April 9th in 1996, one Derek Jeter batted 9th for the Yankees. He went 1 for 3 with a run scored, a walk, a strikeout, and he was caught stealing against the Kansas City Royals. The Yankees won the game 7-3. In 1986, Don Mattingly was batting third. He went 3 for 5 with an RBI, 2 runs scored against the Kansas City Royals again. The Yankees would end up losing that contest 7-4. And back in 1970, Thurman Munson on this day batted second, went 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts against the Boston Red Sox as the Yankees would win 4-3. So, just a little historical tidbit on this day in Yankee history.
Aaron Judge! Yankee baseball! Yankee baseball!
So as we get into the roll call report, the injury bug did affect the New York Yankees quite heavily to start the year. Obviously, Garrett Cole is out for the year with Tommy John surgery, but a couple of other pitchers have since had their injury status updated somewhat. Clark Schmidt is pitching in a rehab game either today or tomorrow, and is reported that we'll see him either the 15th or the 16th of April pitching for the Yankees. Ian Hamilton just recently returned, and one of the other guys that is impending is DJ LeMahieu, who is likely going out on a rehab assignment this coming Friday. So, Dave, which one of those guys you want to let everybody know your thoughts about?
DJ, just stay home. Love the guy, but just we talk about defensive liability, offensive liability. I hate to I mean, the corresponding move is going to be Pablo Reyes gets the axe. Peraza's out of options. Cabrera has done more than enough to earn his spot on this team.
Oh, it's Peraza.
And Peraza, well overdue. Don't even get me started on that. That's a whole new I've been ranting about this for 4 years, and yeah, don't get me going. So Reyes, thanks for your service, but you're soon to be out of here in the unemployment line with Adam Ottavino. RIP to him. So I'm not excited to see LeMahieu because you don't know what the hell you're getting. He could walk past a black cat or cut himself shaving, and he's going to be out for another 3 months. So there's that. Schmidt, I'm pretty excited to get back. I just wish he could just get through a whole spring training without getting freaking hurt, because this has been every year. Yeah. He gets hurt in spring training, and it's a back thing. So it's not looking good, especially as he gets older. I mean, yeah, he's still in his late 20s, but it's not a good sign when you see a young pitcher like him having back problems. And Ian Hamilton, I'm stoked to get him back. I've been high on him since they signed him to that minor league deal 2 years ago. I called it coming out of spring training that he was my dark horse in spring training of 2023 to make the team, and they called him up second week of April. I think he was rehabbing an injury or something, because nobody knows, Ian Hamilton used to play for the White Sox. When he was with the Charlotte Knights, a foul ball went into the Knights dugout and shattered his face, and he had to have facial reconstructive surgery. He basically almost died. And so that's what took him so long to come back, because he's still recovering from that in 2023. So we get excited to get him back in the bullpen. So one, I'm really happy to see. Two, like, come on, hurry up. Like, really wish we'd stop getting hurt. And the third, it's like, please, God, no.
Yeah. I think that getting Clark Schmidt back will be a big help. I think that will also alleviate us from the Cookie Carrasco situation that we're faced with right now, with him in our starting rotation. And once we get Luis Gil back, God willing, we'll be able to move Warren, either back to AAA or into.
Well, Warren's going to be going back to AAA with Schmidt coming back, because he has options.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I would rather have Gil and Schmidt than Warren and Carrasco at this point. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Now, one quick segment here before we move on to the next is what I like to call 3 up, 3 down. So we're going to highlight 3 guys that are playing well, 3 guys that aren't, and 1 to be on the lookout for. So as we get into the first up, obviously the captain, Aaron Judge, 6 home runs, 20 RBIs. I mean, there's not much more that he can do to find himself on the upper side of this list. Now, on the downside, the first down is, to me, Jazz Chisholm. Jazz has 19 strikeouts at the time of putting my notes together for this, and has had some really poor looking at bats the last couple of games. So hopefully getting back to the Bronx, it can warm up and we can see some better at bats from Jazz Chisholm. As we get into the second up, It is Max Fried. Obviously, the guy, signed a $218 million deal, and he's pitching every bit of the ace that we paid him to be. That there's not much more that can be said to give him his flowers than have already been said here. And the second down is Carlos Carrasco. Again, this was a nice story to see him get back to the major leagues, but outside of a couple of good innings in his second outing for the Yankees, there really hasn't been much positive to write home about. Up number 3 for me is Ben Rice. I think we spoke about it earlier on. He's been hitting the ball like an absolute beast this year, putting on the extra weight, making himself a player that has to be reckoned with. Even when Stanton gets back, he's forcing the hand of management to keep him in the lineup as often as possible. So you love to see that from a homegrown talent. That's really where this team has found their success, is when they are built around the guys that have been brought up through the organization. And then the last down for me right now is Devin Williams. What we've seen from Williams is a very shaky player. He did say today that he hasn't been feeling 100% himself, and it looks like it when he's out on the mound. I think that he's still kind of searching for his feel of that airbender changeup. I think that if he can somehow figure out how to kind of get that back under his control, then we can see the Devin Williams that we traded for. But right now, he hasn't looked sharp in his couple of outings. I think back to opening day, he was shaky. Today, he was pulled because he wasn't able to get the outs, having a 4-run lead, surrendered 3 to be able to have Mark Leiter Jr., one of your favorite players.
Oh my God, bro. When they brought him into the game, I was like, why?
I thought about you when I saw Leiter coming into
I was like, bro, this is not the guy you bring in with the bases loaded in a 1-run game. You could have brought in Hamilton, Gomez, but no, oh God. Swear to God, Aaron Boone tries to kill me every year. I swear to God.
And the last of this section here, the player to be on the lookout for is Paul Goldschmidt for me. They've had him in the leadoff spot more often than not, and he's been a revelation for the Yankees in that spot. I had really good feelings when they signed Paul Goldschmidt this offseason. I felt like he was going to have a really big bounce back year, and so far he's been doing the job. 381, 435, 500 slash line with a home run and 3 RBIs as of yesterday. So this is a guy that I'm very excited to have on the Yankees, and he's a Gold Glove caliber first baseman, so he definitely helps out the infield when they get a little bit wonky with their throws. So definitely a guy I'm glad is on the team.
One thing that's driving me nuts, though, and I don't know about you, is this rotating leadoff batter thing. One day it's Austin Wells, the next day it's Ben Rice, the next day it's Goldschmidt. Like, can we just stop with this?
Yeah, I think for me, it is.
I get it. It's all matchups. It's a whole bunch of other shit that we're not seeing, but
yeah, it's all analytically driven. But I think that when you look at kind of some of the best teams, right, and historically the best teams, it's the same guy. It's the same lineup day in and day out. Guys know where they're playing. They know where they're hitting in the order. Obviously, I tend to reference the 09 team a lot, but you
that's
knew
all we got to go on.
Yeah, I mean, most recently, yes. But you knew who was hitting where. There wasn't really questions about who was playing where and what positions.
It was a different game back then, too.
Sure. But, it's still, I think back to the Dodgers of last year, right? You knew it was Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman every single day. And they had Will Smith or Max Muncy behind them. Like that to me is when you have that consistency in a lineup day in and day out, that's where you start to see the best of a team. That's where you start to see not only the camaraderie build in, but you also see the team kind of flow at its best. So for me, I like you said, it's analytically driven, but I think that it's one of those things where if this team can figure out the level of consistency, even in just the batting order, then we can start to see a level of consistency in the play that we have. So for me, I think if they can try and figure out a consistent lineup day in and day out, like the lefties that we have, they're going to have to hit lefties because that's all teams are going to throw against us. And our best lineup is with lefties in the lineup. So to me, that's going to be something to pay attention to, because I think if this organization is going to find itself in a successful position at the end of the year, it's going to be with a consistent team.
Yeah. And the whole Devin Williams thing, like that, he needs to figure it out. Go talk to a therapist. Talk to some. I mean, the Yankees have all these resources. You got, Andy Pettit and all these other former players that are constantly hanging around the team. Bro, like, ask somebody. Call Mariano. Ask him questions. Like, dude, the resources this organization have is endless.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, like, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but like, I just feel like this team is still trying to figure it out without admitting that they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have your closer, 11 games in, having an ERA of almost 4. Like,
so,
no, bro. No, that's well, before this shit show that took place today, it was at 3.86. That's Clay Holmes territory, my dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I seen a meme online that had a picture of Devin Williams and Clay Holmes next to each other and said, "I see no difference."
I mean, at least he didn't give up a grand slam to lose the game like we saw Homeboy do against Texas, and then still go out there and close the next game after that. So, yeah.
We'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. But
now, as we widen the scope here and take a look at the AL East, one of the teams that's been making a lot of noise around us is the Toronto Blue Jays, signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a $500 million contract. Dave, I know you got some thoughts.
Well, let's be honest, $323 million of it that we discovered today is a signing bonus.
Yeah.
So another loophole has been found, but I'm pretty sure the Yankees are going to be blamed for this somehow, some way, for the Blue Jays figuring out this loophole. So, I don't understand. I don't know where the hell the Blue Jays got the money from. Did they rob a bank or something?
Well, I mean, you figure they offered $700 million to both Ohtani.
Oh, I know what it is. They must have sold off half the country. That's what it is. They sold off half the country to the United States to be never mind. So that's where they got the money from.
It was canceled on our first day, Dave.
I'm trying to keep it loose and interesting, No, in all seriousness, I don't agree with the contract. I don't think he is better than Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, because that's basically what this contract is saying, that he is better than those players because this contract is worth more than theirs. He's above average at best.
Yeah.
He's very hot and cold. I defensively don't really think that much of him, to be quite honest.
It's so strange to me that he's been in like the Gold Glove conversation at first base.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
I don't see it either. He's a failed third baseman that came into the league extremely overweight. He has since gotten in shape. Good for him. He's
a great hitter, but beyond that, I don't really see much there.
Yeah, he's very hot and cold. Like I said, he is not his dad at all whatsoever. But Toronto have fun paying that and trying to dump it when the going gets bad, because we've seen with mid-market teams, and the Blue Jays they're not a small market, they're not a large market. They want to play in the big boy pool, but for whatever reason can't figure it out. Yeah. They've basically have tied all their money, from what I can see, to him. And, you know, what does that say to Bo Bichette?
Yep.
You know
That
what I
was gonna
mean?
be my next question to you. Where do you see, where does this land for Bo in your mind?
It all depends on what kind of a season Bo has and if he stays healthy. Like, that's been his problem. Last year, he was unhealthy. But when he's healthy, he's a lethal hitter. He
So do
owned
you?
the Yankees for 2 seasons prior to that. They couldn't get him out.
Yeah,
But they're not going to be able to afford both these guys.
that was
You know,
gonna.
they already paid George Springer about $195 million. They're paying Guerrero now $500 million. Then you got money tied up in Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett. I'm pretty sure they're still paying Hyun-Jin Ryu. And they're paying Max Scherzer.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it does
I don't
beg
know.
the question. What?
Oh, and Matt Chapman, the other one. Forgot about him.
Still have money on Chapman?
Oh wait, no, did he opt out?
I think he hit his free agency like straight up. So
Okay,
I don't think they're paying him anything.
Okay.
But you know, it does for me, you know, beg the question, what happens with Bo Bichette now? I think that this is a clear indication that they are moving on from Bo Bichette. I thought that when they acquired Andres Jimenez this offseason from the Guardians, I felt like they were just kind of setting themselves for insurance at the shortstop position because we know Jimenez is a Gold Glove infielder capable of playing shortstop. And what we've seen from Jimenez so far this year is a much more aggressive offensive approach. So if he can have that, I think the Blue Jays are really signaling already that they're willing to let Bo Bichette walk. So I wonder if he's a guy that if they find themselves kind of floating or falling out of contention, if Bichette gets moved.
It's a possibility. Just a matter of where he goes.
Yeah. So now
I
when you
could
look
see
at
maybe the Angels
yeah,
with Neto being as inconsistent as he is, and
I don't know. I really like Neto. I think the Angels are gonna
I could
keep.
see maybe a National League West team like the Diamondbacks possibly make a play for him.
Well, they
But
just
they got
signed Perdomo.
Perdomo, so
Yeah.
I really don't know where he fits on a contending team. Pretty much all the contenders right now are pretty much set, unless you know someone like Milwaukee who lost Willie Adames and they need to replace some power at short. That
Yeah.
scenario, I can see,
So
but outside, I really don't.
that's
really
actually
don't see
a good
goes.
call out. That's actually a really good call out. I'm looking at kind of the teams now and trying to, you know, picture who they have at short. And that's kind of the one that really does stand out as far as a team that's, you know, a contending team that is kind of in need at that spot. That's kind of like the only one.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you could look at a team like Pittsburgh that doesn't really have a shortstop, but they're also not a team that's really contending. And
they're not going to spend money.
is Bo really going to go somewhere where he's not really going to get paid and not really going to be contending?
I could see maybe Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta has Orlando Arcia under a pretty fair contract.
True.
You know? So
but he's also primarily a second baseman too. So
yeah, I mean that could be a spot as well. I think, yeah, I mean that's Milwaukee's probably the best fit looking at the squad right now. Yeah, that's a good plug. Yeah, it's interesting.
Sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Weird.
No, yeah, I think that's a really good call out by you. I think that it is probably the best fit for his services. If Toronto doesn't bring him back, I think that's going to be the other big part of it is that if they find themselves in a position and, you know, that might also play into their favor in bringing him back because of the fact that there really isn't another spot for him around the league. So,
I mean, maybe Oakland, but they're not really.
Yeah, I don't see them really spending a ton of money right now on a guy who is going to command kind of big money like that.
But look at the money they gave Severino, and they don't have a stadium to pay for, and they're moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, but it's kind of a false narrative with the money they spent this offseason, in my opinion, because they knew they had to spend a certain amount or the Players Association was going to try and bring a lawsuit against him.
I don't blame him.
Oh, for sure. But, you know, in terms, so to me, it was kind of just funny money that they put out this offseason because they knew it really wasn't going to be a whole lot that they were going to carry over. And most of those deals, the only guys that are actually on the books for Oakland when they are supposed to hit Vegas in 2028 is Lawrence Butler and Brett Rooker. Outside of that, they have no money on the books.
That's like criminal, dude.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay. So that to me is why, like, it's a little bit like, you know, oh yeah, the A's spent money this offseason.
They spent $67 million on Luis Severino. Congratulations.
Yeah. And he'll be gone by the time they hit Vegas. So it's, you know, like I said, to me, it was kind of funny money, the amount that they spent this offseason. All right. So now we're gonna hit the next section.
Ground ball. Alex Rodriguez steps on second. Go to second for one. On to first. It's the around the horn triple play.
Widening the scope, looking around at the entire major leagues. There's a couple of things that I wanted to discuss with you here, Dave. Last week, Jurickson Profar was suspended for PEDs. We've gone a few years now where a big name guy hasn't been hit for a PED suspension. But do you think that PEDs still carry kind of that negative stigma, or are people kind of changing their thoughts on it?
I think it still does because I think people don't realize that performance-enhancing drug doesn't always mean steroids, right? We saw Chris Davis get hit with a violation of the drug policy because he was taking Adderall. Basically, he was taking Adderall to focus, to hit the ball. So that's considered a performance-enhancing drug. You know, being in the military like me, there is a list of banned stuff that we cannot use as far as supplements go. So if Major League Baseball has a list like that, that's got some kind of banned substance on it that you shouldn't be taking, that potentially is considered a performance-enhancing drug. And then, of course, you know, you got your anabolic steroids and all the hard-hitting stuff that, you know, came into play in the 90s. But, I mean, you've seen guys that have been using stuff that haven't been caught. Look at prime example, Jose Bautista. Couldn't hit a friggin' beach ball when he played for the Pirates or the Orioles, goes to Toronto and becomes Mark McGwire, like seemingly overnight. Was never caught for anything. There was always suspicion. And then all of a sudden, after 2015, I think he was out of the league by like 2017, not to be heard from ever again. You know, so there are things that guys are like, look at Jurickson Profar. He's still a skinny little rail. Not everything that these guys take to enhance performance is going to make them bulk up and hit the ball 1,000 feet. You know, there are things that you can take that increase endurance, that make your run harder and faster and longer. So, I mean, we don't know what he got busted for. Obviously, it was something that MLB is not down with. What that is, we don't know. I mean, you know, you think back to the 80s, Bill Lee admitted to dropping acid before going out and pitching a game. So
Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter on acid.
I mean, how is that performance enhancing? You know what I'm saying? So there's different classifications of performance enhancing drugs is what I'm trying to say. It's unfortunate that he got busted for this, but you've been in the league long enough. You should know what's up.
Yep. And
to think that you can get away with it is just kind of trash. And I think when you look at it in the perspective of what happened in the 90s, these guys were told to take stuff by the owners to bring fans back to the game because of the strike in 94. Now you got guys that are just doing it just to do it. Like there is a stark difference. Yeah. I do think the guys that got busted in the 90s should have their own special little place in the Hall of Fame. You can't ignore that an era of baseball did not happen because that is probably the second best era of baseball. Like you and I were talking about it being the golden age 2.0. Like we watch guys play that are can be looked at as Roman gods by comparison to today's ball player. You know, part of me feels bad for him, but the other part of me is like, hey, you've been around long enough. You should freaking know what the hell's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Negative stigmatism. I mean, I think it's just the way it's classified. That's the reason why it's getting a bad rap. So that's where I'll leave that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, when you see those players that get hit for a PED suspension, you know, you automatically think the worst. But we've seen guys be able to kind of rehab their image from that. You know, I think about Fernando Tatis Jr. a couple of years ago, got popped for an 80 game. You know, he's beloved in San Diego. So I think that there is an opportunity for Profar to kind of come back and win back that Atlanta Braves fan base. But I'm sure they're feeling slighted at the fact that this guy just got, you know, kind of this big payday from them. And now he's not playing half the season because of this PED suspension.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the reason why Tatis Jr. is so beloved is because he took it on the chin, right? He took his suspension like a man. He didn't cry about it. He didn't appeal it. He was like, all right, cool, got me. I'm sorry, and we'll move on. You look at guys like, you know, Jeff Bagwell and Andy Pettit that got hit for it. Like, granted, Andy Pettit was prescribed HGH by a doctor after he had Tommy John surgery. So I think HGH, if used in the proper form, could actually has medical benefits to help guys recover quicker from injury. So I really wish Major League Baseball would re-examine how HGH is used and see if there's a way to use it for medical benefit, not performance enhancing, right? Because obviously it's not natural to get better as you get older. Like that math ain't mathin', bro. So I really wish they would revise their policy in that aspect. But like I was getting back to, like, those two guys, they apologized for it, and you never heard about it ever again.
Yep.
You know, so I think it's because of that people have like seemingly forgot that he even got nailed with an 80-game suspension. So
yeah, no, I think, you know, that's kind of the biggest part of it is how guys respond to it is typically how they're viewed in the aftermath of it.
And then you got guys like Rafael Palmeiro that is shaking his finger in Congress's face saying, I never did it. And then after he gets his 3,000th hit, gets popped for steroids. And it's like, really, bro? Yeah. You just lied to Congress saying you're not doing this shit. And here we are, not even 5 years later.
Yep.
With this. So there is two sides to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, one of the other topics from around the league that I wanted to discuss with you is we've seen a lot of extensions recently. So there were about 11 extensions in the recent couple of weeks since the season started. Jackson Merrill, 9 years with the Padres for $135 million. Christian Campbell, 8-year, $60 million deal with the Red Sox. Garrett Crochet, $170 million, 6-year deal with the Red Sox. Lawrence Butler, we mentioned earlier, $65.5 million deal for 7 years with the A's. The Guardians and Tanner Bybee, 5 years, $48 million. Brandon Pfaadt of the Diamondbacks, 5 years, $45 million. Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, 6 years, $105 million. Alejandro Kirk of the Blue Jays, a 5-year, $58 million deal. Justin Martinez of the Diamondbacks, a 5-year, $18 million deal. Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks, 6 years, $116.5 million extension. And then obviously Vladdy that we talked about earlier, a 14-year, $500 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
All these extensions, of them all, which is the one or two that you think is actually a good deal for the team?
Christian Campbell, I really don't know that much about. You know, obviously the Red Sox see something in him that they don't want to lose. Okay. I mean, we saw this trend kind of start with Jackson Churio. I mean, he was in high A or double A when they signed him to that massive deal.
Yep. A for 8.
Alejandro Kirk, he's a great hitter. I mean, I think he's a little out of shape to be a catcher. That's just my thought on that. But he seems to kill the Yankees every time they play each other. So yeah, cool, I guess. Tanner Bybee is a freaking steal for the Guardians at that amount because that kid's going to be a stud, even though he already is. I just see him getting better as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree.
Jackson Merrill, I think, probably got underpaid. But but you listen to his press conference, and he's like basically throwing shade at Shohei Ohtani, saying like, "Yeah, this is where I want to stay. Like, screw you if you don't like it," kind of thing. All right, cool.
I think that shot was taken more at Soto because Soto was there.
Yeah,
He was there.
No.
With the
okay, yeah, I get it. I get it now. Garrett Crochet, I don't know what fucking truth serum or hex Jedi mind tricks or whatever he put on the Red Sox organization, but cool. I guess Chris Sale 2.0 is what I see with that. I hope it works out. I guess we'll see. I think the reason why you're seeing this is because going back to free agency of 2018, right? That was Machado and Harper. Or was that 19?
I can't remember. 18 or 19.
No, 2018. It was because it was the year after the Nationals won the World Series the year after he had left. So that offseason, you saw those two guys get signed basically a week before spring training started.
Yeah.
And this has been a trend that is getting worse and worse and worse as this gap between the players union and the owners keeps getting wider on what these guys should or should not be getting paid.
Yeah.
I
mean, see how late Santander got signed by the this year.
Yeah. So this is, I think a lot of players are seeing this and going, the hell with this. I don't want to drag this out. And that's why they're jumping the gun and getting these long-term deals. Now, my other pet peeve with this long-term deal is really starting to piss me off to watch these young studs play for 6 years and go, okay, I've been in the league for X amount of years, therefore I am owed a 9-figure salary just because I've been here for this long, rather than, I'm not saying some of them haven't earned it. I'm just saying there seems to be a trend of, okay, my 6-year minor league commitment is up, and now because I've been a veteran of the league for 6 years, I'm worth $400 million when I haven't done jack anything.
Yeah,
I don't think it's right. Go out there and earn it. Aaron Judge earned every single dime of that $340 million contract. I don't give a damn what anybody says. You can call it my Yankee bias. I really don't give a shit. There are certain guys in this league that have put their time in and have shown that they're worth the money. And I just feel like if this trend is going to keep continuing, that, guys are going to be making $1 billion pretty soon if this keeps going in the direction it's going in. I get it. They got to feed their families. Boohoo, try making $84,000 a year and then come talk to me. So I'm not a fan of, I get why it's happening. Obviously, times have changed since guys getting in the late 90s, 3 years at $15 million was earth shattering at one point. So I think some
was earth shattering at one point.
Yeah. So I think a lot of guys are trying to avoid this free agency nonsense that's going on, pretty much caused by Scott Boras single-handedly. So, I think guys want to stay in specific places. They're comfortable there. They want to get paid. They don't want to drag it out, and can't say I blame them. Do I think all of them deserve the type of coin that's being thrown around? No.
So speaking of that coin, I have a question for you.
What's up?
Who's the next $500,000 player? Paul Skeens.
Paul Skeens, Ellie De La Cruz. Outside of that, Spencer Strider.
You think Strider gets $500 million?
Close to it. At least 3 at a minimum. But hitting wise, I don't know, man. I think it's really going to take someone showing up and blowing the doors off. I mean, I don't know if Rafaela keeps it up. Maybe. I don't know. Hard to tell.
Yeah, I think, the names that I had as far as tossing into this segment, was Skeens, Ellie, and the other guy that I had into, bring up for this conversation was Kyle Tucker. We know Kyle Tucker is going to head to free agency this offseason. It's going to be an interesting case study and test subject to see what he does in this upcoming free agency class, because now that Vlad's out, we know Pete Alonso's going to opt out and he's going to be chasing Vlad money.
He's not going to get it, man. That's the thing.
Yeah. But that's why I think Kyle Tucker is going to be the interesting case. You know, we saw Soto get $765 million. To me, was an overpay. I don't think that, as much as I believe that Juan Soto is the Ted Williams of this generation, there's no doubt about it. This is the greatest, one of the greatest hitters we've ever seen in the game.
I think Judge is the better hitter than Soto.
I think that's a really good debate.
I seriously do. And Michael Kay and Paul O'Neill are talking about it, not directly, but it seems like they take a little shots at Soto every chance they get.
For sure.
But I will die on this hill. I think Aaron Judge is a better all-around hitter than Juan Soto.
Yeah, I think when you mash the, you know, average ability plus the power ability of Judge, yes, I think overall Judge is the better player, because we've seen Judge be a plus runner, even though he doesn't have great speed. To me, it's a travesty that he's not given more consideration as a Gold Glove outfielder. You know, he has a cannon for an arm. So to me, Judge is the more five-tool player between he and Soto. You know, I just think about the plate discipline that Soto has. It's, to me, second to, you know, behind Ted Williams, behind Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs. Like, that's the kind of plate discipline company that I think that Soto has. And I think Judge can sometimes expand the zone more than he should. And to me, it's because he gets so many calls wrong against him. That's why he expands the zone. I think that if he were to stay disciplined in, this is the zone, this is the right zone, I'm not chasing out of it no matter what the count is, I think we could see him get even better than what he already is. To me, Judge, and, you know, obviously this can be called my Yankee bias, but to me, Judge is the best player in the game. You know, I realize what Ohtani is capable of on a year in and year out basis, especially if he's capable of pitching as well. But to me, what Judge is capable of doing is second to no one. Yeah. And I think that if this stretch that we've seen him be on, you know, minus the injury plague season when he ran into the wall with the Dodgers, I think this is going to go down as one of the greatest 4 or 5 year runs that we'll ever see in the history of baseball, what Judge has been able to do. And I really don't think he's scratched the surface yet. I think that there's still room for improvement with him. Yeah. And that's kind of a scary thought to have. So,
yeah. Well, no.
Yeah. One other thing in this section before we kind of close everything out is, over the weekend, we played the Pittsburgh Pirates, and there was a big controversy over the right field wall. The Roberto Clemente logo was replaced with an advertising sponsor. I think it was like a surf drink or something like that, an energy drink of sorts or something. It was reported when the Yankees closed out that series on Sunday that after the fan backlash and the comments by Roberto Clemente Jr., that the Pirates are going to go back to the Roberto Clemente logo on the right field wall. To me, and I commented about this on social media, on X, it's an absolute joke that the Pirates owner, Bob Nutting, decided to make this available. You have every other spot available in your stadium, one of the most beautiful stadiums to look at. And by all accounts, because, you know, unfortunately I haven't yet to be there, but one of the most beautiful stadiums to visit. It's renowned by all the ball players that speak about PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And people are in reverence to the humanitarian that Roberto Clemente was. And he is known for Pittsburgh. He's known that right field wall is 21 feet high because that was Roberto's number. And you replace his logo and don't even have the common decency to let his family know that you're going to do this. And then after the backlash, because this was the first weekend of games for Pittsburgh at home, so no one even knew that it happened. And yet, this guy is allowed to own a major league franchise. Someone that has no foresight, no thoughts into how one of the most revered icons of your franchise's history is going to be disrespected for an advertising dollar.
Yeah.
So that's my little rant for today.
I mean, honestly, I think number 21 all across baseball should be retired right next 100%. To Jackie. You know, so yeah, it's trash. Honestly, the man died trying to help others, and you know, that's pretty much all Pirates fans have to be proud of. Unfortunately, this owner obviously just likes to use this as a tax write-off.
Yeah,
it's a tax loss for him. Probably gets big dollars because of it.
Yeah, because
I don't
field, that's for sure.
I don't know how the hell you justify it, because you just can't. You know, at least when the Yankees retired Mariano's number, they moved Jackie's number and gave him a plaque in Monument Park. Like, there was a right way to do this.
Yep.
They, for whatever reason, chose to go with the wrong way of doing it. Maybe this guy doesn't, maybe the owner doesn't know who Roberto Clemente is, which, if that's the case, bro, you have no business owning the fucking team. That's just, you know, yeah, it's kind of tough to put myself in the shoes of a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, because we haven't, I mean, I guess we kind of been there with a player dying suddenly with Thurman, but that wasn't in our lifetime. And, you know, you don't see really Thurman anywhere else other than Monument Park. You know, it just feels like the Pirates organization was built on the back of Roberto Clemente. So I guess that's why this stings a little bit more than it should, but probably not the right words to be using. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. The family has every right to be pissed off. I don't blame them. And to be like, oh, sorry, we'll put it back. Nah, dude, damage is done. Like, fuck off. You know, plain simple English.
Yeah, damage is definitely done. I mean, for Pirates fans, it was already done. This was a guy who
I'm surprised it wasn't a riot.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, I mean, this is an owner who has spent almost no money to invest in this team. It was discussed multiple times on the Yankee broadcast and been discussed multiple places, including our friends over at Buckle Banter. So make sure you check those guys out.
Yeah.
At the fact that the last free agent contract signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates that was more than a 1-year deal,
Ivan Nova,
former Yankee Ivan Nova, back in 2016. You're talking, we're now in 2025. And any contract they've given out since has been solely a 1-year deal. That shows that there's no actual commitment.
Well, with the exception of Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds.
But that was an extension. I mean, a free agent contract. Actually trying to sign someone to help build around your core players. No one. I'm
telling you right now, man, they fuck up with Skeens. I'm telling you. Roberto Clemente is going to be the last thing they got to worry about, because if this guy is still owning the team when Skeens hits free agency and he goes somewhere else or he gets traded, my God, you think about the talent that they, you know, you go back to Barry Bonds, Garrett Cole, you know, the list goes on.
So many guys,
players over the years that they traded away that they probably could have won a World Series with. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I think back to the mid 2010s run, where
2015.
Yeah, where they
the wild card
squad that could have done more had they simply added some money and some players to the payroll. But
yeah,
we'll see how it all shakes out. So we're about to walk this thing off here.
Jeter hits it into right. Back at the wall. Game over. As Boone hits it to deep left. send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
2. Swung on and hit in the air to deep left field. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. It's a game-winning walk-off 3-run home run by Aaron Judge.
That one's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win. Judge hit 60, and the Yankees win in walk-off fashion.
So as we close things out, we want to thank everybody for joining us here on the stream tonight. And if you're catching this on the replay, definitely want to thank you for taking a look here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast's weekly live stream show, the Pinstripe Plunge Report. As always, if you're joining us here on the YouTube side of things, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, as well as that bell for post notifications, as it does help us continue to grow this channel here. Make sure you also, if you're checking us out on the YouTube side of things, you hit that link tree in the description below, because it does have all the pertinent details to our merch store, sponsor links, social platforms, and our audio platforms. So definitely take a look at that to help us continue to build and grow this channel here.
And before we go, I'm going to be a little selfish. So last year I got into flipping sports cards. So tomorrow I'm doing a live auction on Whatnot. So check out Gilly's House of Cards on Whatnot, and also on my Instagram. So I do a pull box game with graded cards as chasers. It gets bananas and crazy, and a whole bunch of wild stuff happens. So check me out tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on Whatnot, and come have some fun and come win some prizes. So
yeah, always good stuff there at Gilly's House of Cards for sure. So Dave, as we close out, you have any final thoughts for this week's episode?
just breathe, people. Everything's gonna be fine. The team's gonna be fine, unless Aaron Boone finds a way to break out of the closet. We lock him in halfway through the season, and maybe if Hal can stop saying dumb shit on the radio, that'd be great too. No, all seriousness, guys. The season's 12 games old. Let's not go jumping off your favorite structure of choice. Keep the faith. I know this is this is kind of different from what I've been saying years past, but it'll be fine. Reinforcements are coming. John Carl is going to come back with bionic arms and like the Terminator. So, yeah, keep it locked here. Keep the faith, and everything will be fine.
Yeah. So before we go, Dave, I want to get your quick predictions. We have 6 games, a 6-game homestand getting ready to start against the San Francisco Giants and Kansas City Royals before our next weekly episode. So again, make sure you're locked in here, 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights, as we bring you the latest content from the world of the Yankees and around baseball. So 6 games. How many do the Yankees win?
I think they're going to go 5-1.
Nice.
I think they're going to sweep San Fran and take 2 out of 3 against Kansas City.
Okay. All right. So you heard it here first. 5-1, according to Dave. The Yankees are going to go next week, and that'll give us a much different show and a much different feeling to talk about when it comes to these Bronx Bombers. So I want to thank you once again for joining us here on the Pinstripe Plunge Report, exclusively on the Baseball Banter broadcast. And we'll catch you guys next week here live. Peace.